Whether it be two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, or these midsize trucks that I'm pretty sure me and Tim both love to drive. This is your All-Terrain Nation. I'm your host, David Boyd, alongside Mr. Tim Estradal. Tim, did I say your last name right? I never get it right.
It's Estradal. Actually, funny story on that. I have a little speech impediment that I was in like elementary school for. I had to go Dr. Mooney.
That guy.
Dr. Mooney was my speech guy, right? So I struggle with 3-syllable words, which Estradal is 3-syllable words. So people always ask me, like, why don't you say your last name in your videos? I'm like, because I'm gonna mess it up. So it's like I don't tell people, I don't actively say my last name very often because I don't pronounce it well.
Yeah.
It's no, I
was team speech impediment. I'm there with you. Now look what we're doing. We're talking on camera.
Yeah, and mumbling some days.
Now, if I could just get my ums out of my videos, I'd be all right. But you know.
It's all right. Jill has this thing where she does all right, so So she had one video. She had like it was like a 10-minute video. She had like 25 all right so's.
Wow.
And she's just like, all right. She's like, all right, so I have to get rid of this. I'm like, yes. She goes, all right, so I need to. I'm like, and then when she first started doing videos, she would have this thing. She would tisk.
Yeah. I do that. I can't, when I'm editing videos, every once in a while I'll hear it. And you're like, what is that coming from?
I'm like, I don't understand. I don't know. I've been blessed or whatever. I'm a one take wonder kind of guy. I don't really have a whole lot of ums at things. I do every once in a while. I'll say, and now, or I just transition. I mean, but I don't think I do that a lot in my videos. I don't know why. I've always been. I think probably because I was in sales for years, and when you're in sales, you used to talk to people, and talking to the cameras like talking to people. So.
Oh yeah, no, that was me for vintage guitar sales for years, and I was a little shy kid before that. And then you're like, oh, you want to make money? You better learn to talk to people.
Yeah, you got it,
Well, Tim, we've had an exciting week of midsize trucks, man. I want to kick off though with Jeep, and this sounds kind of funny, and I know you got some things, some stories, some press stories you'd like to talk about, but I want to bring this up real quick, and because a couple weeks ago I did talk about the Gladiator. And so let me find the right window here. Bring this up. So Jeep has done an upgrade to the Wrangler, and you're probably thinking, Dave, this is a midsize truck show, but Gladiator is due to be refreshed as well. Probably not till later in the year. But Tim, I know you did a video on the Wranglers with some of the updates they've done, and I'm pretty sure we will see this in the Wrangler. Where are you at with the updates for them?
So. I'm going to go back in time. I was at the launch or something. No, I was doing an event with some of my journalist friends, and we were talking about the Gladiator. And when it first came out, and at the moment we had said that Gladiator was a one model year or one model cycle vehicle. In that we all thought it was going to die after the first model. So go 7 years, they kill it off. Right?
I remember you telling me this. Yeah.
So it seems like that was the thought process back then. So the question I'm going to have is, so obviously they can just take this interior and put it in a Gladiator. I mean, it makes total sense, right? So they're not going to build two different versions of this vehicle, right? Because the Gladiator, I mean, the interior Gladiator is the same as Wrangler, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But the question is the Gladiator going to survive? So
I haven't paid attention to sales in a while on it, but
I was just thinking about pulling it up. So the other thing, for example, Ram's going to come out with a midsize truck. They've gotten. I wrote that story, didn't I? I think I did. It's a long week. Ram was authorized, which is a weird word, to build the Dakota.
Right.
And so they showed at the dealer meetings. Dealer loves it. Ram talked about how the Dakota is in the final design phases. Like the design's already not final. Excuse me. The design is already happening. They've already made mock-ups of it. They have the plan for it. So if Ram comes out with the Dakota, does that kill the Gladiator? And then the question is, why is Gladiator still around? I mean, the Gladiator comes still with the diesel, but the diesel got killed off, right? So the diesel is not available in the Ram, so that's gone. The Wrangler doesn't have the diesel, that's gone. So to me, it's like that's a good question. I don't know. Let me pull up the sales because I think they sold like 12,000. I thought sales were going down.
I will say I love the new interior refreshes they've done. They've done a lot of safety features to the Wrangler that I think you will see. There's some side curtain airbags and stuff they've done to improve safety because let's be honest, these things are kind of, I won't say a death trap by any means, but they're not the safest as more modern pickup trucks are. So they're really pushing to that. And I think the introduction of the Ford Bronco has forced Jeep to go a little faster than they normally like to with this, which I'm going to save that topic for my Monday show. But overall, though, I thought the interior was great in this thing. And there's Tim's got his arc up.
Yeah, I was going to show you sales. So what's interesting, what they made a big deal about this is that it's more comfortable to drive. And I should have put that on my story. I didn't do that as one of my top things because that should be a big top thing. Because if you've been in the Wrangler, you've been in Wrangler, a lot.
I own a Gladiator, so
and you have a Gladiator, yeah. And doors off and windows. I mean, that kind of stuff. It's not the most comfortable driving vehicle. It's just not. And so they made it quieter. It's the Bluetooth works better. Like Jim Morrison, the Jeep CEO, he's like, yeah, we improved the Bluetooth. You can have a phone call now with the doors off.
Yeah.
I mean? It's like but they made the windshield a little bit better. They made everything a little bit softer seats, just more comfortable to drive. But if you look at these sales, like I'm just pulling up the Q1 midsize truck sales, the Gladiator is down 24%.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know. Does it stay around? That to me is the first question. If it does stay around, does it get a mild refresh to basically take the Wrangler parts, put it on the Gladiator? That makes sense. But then if Ram's going to come out the Dakota, they're not going to. I don't think So back in the day when it was Fiat Chrysler, they used to compete with each other. They used to have a Chrysler minivan and a Dodge minivan, and then they have the Dodge Durango and the Chrysler SUV. I mean, so on dealer lots, they were competing with each other, and they made a pledge back then to not compete with each other on the sales lot. That's why Dodge went muscle cars, except for the Durango, because Durango doesn't make sense to Chrysler. Chrysler went like cars, luxury kind of cars. Rams all trucks, Jeeps are all Jeeps. So they've made these lines in the sand as far as on dealer lots. And so if the Ram Dakota comes back, which is going to, we have all indications going to come back.
Yeah.
And right now it seems like probably next year may see one. Does the Jeep Gladiator stick around? Jeep Gladiator sales are going down. Wrangler sales are doing pretty well. You have the refresh. You have the Bronco that's really spurring on more competition in the marketplace. That's increasing demand in that utilitarian vehicle segment. And so why would Jeep decide to keep building the Gladiator and keeping that assembly line going when they can just build more Wranglers?
Well, I think it's low-hanging fruit for Jeep, for one thing. It's built in the same plant that the Wrangler's built at. So other than, I know framing's slightly different. It's more of a 1500 frame is my understanding under it, or it's more of a heavy-duty frame.
Right.
But you got to think about it. It's really, they went into it so cheap that they knew the rear doors. They're Wrangler doors. That's why they have that weird cutoff to them at the bottom. They just weren't going to put a lot of money into this thing. So I could see it staying around. I know there is quite a few groups that love that thing, and Jeep loves all these little off-road groups. They live for that. So I can see it staying around, but I think the truck needs to get the Hurricane engine, honestly. And I don't want to go too deep into Gladiator, but I think that would be a major refresh that people would like, because the engine it has now, the little what is it, a 3.6, it's not underwhelming, but it's not overwhelming either. It's just kind of like, it goes okay,
So I think that's the biggest surprise of the Wrangler and the Gladiator is two things. First of all, you're still going to give away 13,000 units of production to a Gladiator, which that's a big question for those brands. But there was no powertrain changes, and I think that's very interesting, because when I read the specs in the Hurricane engine, I did a video that it's going to be it should be the next Ram. It's going to kill the V8.
Yeah.
I mean, and I drove, we both drove it, and we're like, this should be killing the V8. And now it's like, they didn't put it in everything. It's a lot of times when brands do an announcement like this, a new engine, whatever, you start seeing it filter throughout. So like Chevy, they did a 2.7 in Silverado. Guess what? The 2.7 is now in the Colorado, right? I mean, because if you're a business person, wouldn't you want to have the same engine used in a variety of vehicles? It's economics of scale, right? So I am surprised that Jeep didn't make any fundamental change with the powertrain.
Yes. And I think this is just a mid-cycle refresh. I think by probably 28, we see a new Wrangler, probably multiple, probably all EV of some sort. We know the 4xe, they sell a lot of 4xe, but I see a lot of 4xe on the used market. So I think people bought them thinking, oh boy, because Jeep in their big promotion of the launch of this vehicle was like most plug-in hybrids sold in the United States, and it's like cool, but let's talk about the used market side of that. But that's a whole nother topic, and I don't want to go too deep in that. So I know Colorado and Canyon, we've both been tracking that truck pretty well, and we've yet to see them. I know you got to do a press trip on the Colorado. The Canyon is they're actually starting to hit dealerships, and you haven't done any press trips. I know I haven't been invited to anything. What is going on with this truck, man?
I think it's interesting. I was on a few Facebook groups because I kill myself that I want to go on Facebook more. But I was on a few Facebook groups because I'm a dumbass. I was on a few Facebook groups, and there, I'll be serious here for a minute. And people were clamoring about how it's delayed, and how GM really screwed this up, and how it's not out to market yet. And I'm just sitting there going, it's pretty typical. Like when the Ford Bronco came out, it was the same deal. It was all of a sudden it came out. Then it was like, okay, you didn't see them for a while. I mean, it's the same deal, right? So I think it's consumers who are excited to get their truck, and now they're mad that they're waiting for it. And it's
Amazon culture.
and I'm like, well, cry me a river that your $50,000 truck isn't here today, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it takes a little bit of time. Like, for example, when the Jeep Wrangler just was revealed changes. It's Saturday, April 8th. The revealed changes a couple days ago. You won't be able to get one until September or August, September, right?
Yeah.
That's typical. And then in the Jeep materials, I just wrote up that we have 2 spec chart articles coming out, one 4xe and one by Wrangler. And in the spec charts, they said that fuel economy is to be determined. It's the same engine. Everything's the same, but
Right.
because they have to go, the biggest key is EPA cycling. So EPA's got to sign off on the stuff. So what happens is brands will, so for example, I'm going to build a Chevy Colorado. I transition my team from whatever project they're on to now the Colorado. We're going to start this project. So we go and we do focus analysis. We get marketing involved. We work with the product planners who've been studying the marketplace. We get reviews. We listen to customers. We put all our data together. We make our list. We spend a few months figuring out what's going to go in the vehicle, what's not going to go in the vehicle. We look at price point. We have the bean counters in the office. We got to sell a vehicle at this price to make this much profit. So where do we cut a little bit? Where do we add a little bit? What's going to excite customers? And then we go ahead and do mock-ups. We do mock-ups for 3, 4, 5 months. We do little clay models. We do wood models. We do full-scale models. You can walk around these mock-ups. Then we go to manufacturing. We say, can you build this? And then we talk about how they're going to build it, how the line's going to start. Like you've been in manufacturing. We decide how that's going to work. And then we do testing. So we take this model and we're doing manufacturing. And we're testing it, right? So we finally get a couple of these built manufacturing. We go out and we test it. And we test it, beat up, and that takes 6 to 9 months. And then when the testing is done, and we know we can do manufacturing, then we announce it. We reveal it. We have a 2-3 months of planning, pop and circumstance. Well, in that time period, we're not EPA testing this. We're not doing all that kind of stuff. So then we announce it, and then we do our EPA numbers because now we don't worry about spy photos, right? We don't worry about being spied, right? So we can just drag these things around, and then they're going to do EPA testing. So what automakers do is they self-certify their EPA numbers. So they will take their fleet, and they'll do the same EPA testing loop because they've all been trained on how to do this. They do it, and they submit their numbers to the EPA. They say, hey, this is what we got, these numbers. This is what we're certifying it. The EPA sits there and says, okay, let's see, that's probably close. Oh, no, that one's not really that close. You need to send it to us, we can test it, right? Yeah. So the EPA doesn't test everything. A lot of times they just take the automaker certification and say, yeah, they did the product test. So the EPA, they did the testing right. They followed the plan. Yep, those are probably numbers. That's how they get certified. So then, but EPA is government. It's government relations. It's going to take a while to get done. So then, I've even seen we're at the point where the fuel economy numbers don't come out until the trucks are on transport shipping to dealerships, right? Wow. Which is what the Colorado did, right? So the Colorado was sitting in the plant and the parking lot, sitting in rows in the parking lot, ready to be put on transport and sent out, but they couldn't do it because they didn't have the EPA certification. Yeah. And once they got it, I had people screaming at me. They were like emailing me and telling me, "Oh my God, what's going on? What's going on?" And it's like it's just EPA testing, right? And Motor Biscuit, I mean, it's like what's GM? So Motor Biscuit says there's been no word from GMC or Chevy. That's bull. That's complete bull headline, because you can just ask them and they'll tell you it's just EPA certification. And it's funny because the PR teams are just like, it's EPA certification. So I mean they're not hiding anything. They're not saying and the other thing I think is funny is it's like as a brand like a GM, you don't want to be delayed. You want to get these up. You want to make the money because you spend all this money R&D and testing. So it's
Yeah,
not like GM's going, ha ha ha, let's screw over the customer and keep him on the side.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's pull this vehicle away. We don't want to sell these.
yeah. I mean, that's ridiculous. So it's like, to me, that's just lazy journalism right there. Not asking the question, not asking the PR team. But yeah,
Well,
it's
that's sometime Motor Biscuit. There's some good ones over there, and then there's Motor Biscuit is just
yeah,
set up for ads. That's all they want. So that's I wanted to pop an article up there on that just to kind of
yeah,
show. But no, I would agree with you. Like the Amazon culture, we want it, and I will say they build up a hype. Some of these launches, they make exciting videos for these things. There's a lot of hype to these.
yeah.
Oh, the ZR2, it's going to be badass, or the AT4X is, oh my god, this is going to be the ultimate platform, and people get excited for it. And GM has right now, they've got all these influencers driving these things, and they're on YouTube, which pisses me off to no end because they're influencers of what? A bicycle rider? That doesn't, as a truck buyer, I never look at those and go, oh
Yeah, I
boy.
mean, it's just that I saw the same video. I actually liked it. I messaged
I
Jim,
didn't dislike the video. I'm just
and I was
saying,
like, yeah, I was like, man, my video quality sucks compared to these guys. I was like, holy cow, it was well done. They just have a different audience. I mean, GM did that before. They did that with the Chevy Silverado. They
yeah,
invited some surfers down, and the surfing outlet did a thing on the beach, and it's just marketing and PR, just trying to get more eyeballs, different eyeballs.
sure.
That's the biggest thing. I think those PR teams work hard on is, yeah. So you and I report on it, great, fantastic. But we're like an echo chamber with all the other automotive outlets out there.
Yeah.
So if you're not into trucks, you're probably not watching our videos. And
Right.
so they try to bring in people that may have a different lifestyle or may have a different audience who may be able to expose that audience to the vehicle that they would otherwise not be exposed to. But here's my question for you. Remember all the Ford Bronco launch stuff happened and the hardtop was an issue and all this kind of stuff was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever talk about that again?
Occasionally, well, because they're still having hardtop issues,
Right. But
no.
I mean,
Yeah, no, it's once it's news, it's past.
yeah, I mean, that's my point. In 2 years from now, is anybody gonna look back at the Colorado and go, "Man, they really screwed up that launch. They didn't get out on the dealerships. It took them an extra 2 weeks to get the dealerships."
Yeah. Oh well,
No,
Ford
I mean,
had the 2.7. They had, I think, 50 engines detonate,
yeah.
and that was all the rage for a couple months, and I haven't heard a peep about it since.
Well, I mean, so I did the Tundra. I had the wastegate issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did a video and I got called all sorts of names in the video because I was like, guys, this isn't that big of a deal. And I was like, yeah, it sucks if your truck was affected. But the problem is, it's not that your truck was affected. It's that they didn't have parts. And people are like, well, how do you build this truck without any parts? Without any replacement parts? I'm like, pretty easy. All the parts they had went to the vehicles being built. It's like, they don't come up. They don't come with parts right away.
At a vehicle launch, they have to have enough parts on supplies in case a vehicle was wrecked day one. They have warehouses. All these manufacturers have warehouses for parts. They only have to have so much. Like, you can go through those parts real quick. And in the middle of a pandemic, what's the requirements of how many fenders are they supposed to have? How many extra engines are they supposed to have sitting over there? Not probably many during a pandemic. So
they just don't have it. So well, especially new vehicles. So there was a story with my press fleet in Denver. They had a Mercedes-Benz car. I think it was. I think it was a car. And somebody had sideswiped the wheel, like had put a big mark in the rim, right?
Yeah. And
it sat in the press fleet for 8 months waiting for that wheel because they couldn't get it. So it's like, because it's a brand new vehicle, when they launch vehicles, the replacement parts are always delayed coming up behind it because you're ramping up supply. So it's like, they're trying to get these things out as fast as they can to make the money back and all the R&D stuff they spent on. They don't have parts laying around. And people are like, well, it sucks if it's your vehicle. I totally get it. I'm not trying to bash on that, but you can't, people get so mad about this stuff. I'm just like, it's just the way the business is, right? So you wanted it and gotta have it. And you get it and something breaks and you're like, well, why can't I get a part now? Well,
everybody wants to be a day one buyer, for what me and you do. We need to be early because we want to review the vehicles and get, our views and thoughts on it. But the consumer wants to have it because everybody wants a new car in their driveway to show off their neighbors and stuff, which I don't blame them. Trust me. We get a lot of attention to all the vehicles that are in our driveway, as I'm sure you do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so like the Bronco, like when I first got the Ford Bronco, I was very gentle with it. People are like, why don't you bash it? Why don't you do this? Why don't you climb through rocks? All that kind of stuff. I'm like, because if I break a part, I know it's 8 months to get that part at least. And then that means the next 7 people in line behind this one are screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tim, my local dealership, Darrell Waltrip, Buick and GMC, about 20 minutes from me. They have some GMCs on the way, which is funny because you haven't even got to do a press drive on any of these. And I don't expect it's going to drive any different than a Colorado, but yeah, they're so far behind on this stuff. GM's been kind of a mess with this.
Well, like we said, it's just EPA stuff. I counter the claim that GM's been a mess.
No, but I mean,
This is
as
a
far as
typical
like
launch.
their PR launch of this vehicle, they did a great job, and then getting some journalists into these vehicles. I mean, they're going to be on the ground before
I was having
we
a
get to
phone
see
call
them.
with the head of Chevrolet Truck Communications. We've been talking about this stuff, and
Yeah.
I said, why? I said, where's the Chevy heavy duty trucks? Because those supposed to come out. They got announced last September, and he goes, I'd love to get you one. I can't get the truck.
Yeah.
He goes, they're not built yet. He said, so it's like, so the Canyon press trip drive is the end of this month, and the reason it's end of this month is like you're showing in transit. So GM doesn't have these trucks. They only build. The initial batch is usually for marketing. I bet you for marketing videos and stuff. I bet you initial batch was like 3. Well, if you're going to do a press event, you're going to have 60 people there, and you're going to have 3 trucks. That's the math don't work out. So I mean, the fact of the matter is PR doesn't have it. They don't have the truck. So consumers are going, I want my truck. Why can't I get my truck? And PR is going, we can't even get people in the trucks because we don't have them. So it's like,
oh yeah,
it's like, wait a minute here. And the Colorado got built before the Canyon because the Colorado is going to have more sales volume, and they had more orders for the Colorado. That's why the Colorado press drive was last month, because they had more vehicles. It's not like, again, it's not like GM's being nefarious about this stuff and that kind of stuff. They just don't have it. And trust me, the PR team, they want this. They wanted it yesterday because they want to get because here's what our jobs are to review the vehicles, but also to put more, not shine a light on them or whatever, but build up the marketing. We help them build up the hype, right? So the videos I do helps them build up the hype. I don't care about that stuff. I care about reviewing the vehicle, but that's how things work out, right? So if I'm going to review it and I'm going to say this, and this, I may convince somebody to go place an order. Okay. That's fine. If you want to buy a truck, great. If you don't want to buy a truck, I really don't care. I don't make any money off truck sales. I don't have any interest in what you're buying. I'm just going to tell you this is what my thoughts on it. And so GM needs that. Every brand needs that. And so they want to have these vehicles yesterday, but they just can't get them.
Yeah. Well, the takeaway from this, I love this. So MSRP $54,805. Get today's price because it's not $54,000. But I would have never. 5 years ago, if you would have told me it had been a $60,000 midsize truck, I would have laughed. I would have been like, you're crazy, man. But if you want the ultimate in luxury in a small truck, you're going to pay for it, it looks like.
I think we talked about this in one of your other live streams. I mean, I think you and I are old enough to remember when midsize trucks were just small 4-cylinder economy things that were cheap, right? So the early S10s, early Rangers, I mean, those were just shop trucks. They were just, they were cheap, efficient things. Full-size trucks were much bigger. They had terrible gas fuel economy, so you always bought the little truck to get the fuel economy. You say the big truck for the big work jobs, right?
Yeah.
That's just not the case. I mean, the mid-size truck now is the full-size truck. Like, I think full-size truck name is wrong. I think it should be like, heavy duty half or something. I don't know what we could call it, but
hey, come on, Nissan already tried to do that, man.
Well, it's like, so the 1 ton, the 3,500 should be the 2 ton, the 3/4 ton should be the 1 ton, and half ton should be 3/4 ton, and the midsize should be half ton, right? I mean, that's the way it should be. And I don't think that midsize truck customer who's buying that Canyon Colorado, I don't think they're cross shopping the full size. It's a completely different.
No, I think this company right here only proves that. Like if Toyota's small truck buyers were buying the full size, they would be the leader of the full size trucks as well. But
right, yeah. I mean, nobody, that's the thing. I just think it always gets missed is nobody's. I don't know hardly any people that are comparing midsize to full size. I know some people, like my neighbor down the street. He was talking about the new Ford Ranger, and he was going to buy a Ford Ranger, not the new one. He was going to buy one a couple years ago, and he drives an F-150. He's like, well, I hopped in the back of the Ford Ranger to make sure I had enough room, and he goes, I don't fit, so I had to save my F-150. And I'm like, well, yeah, because it's not the same. It's but he had memories back in the day. He's like 65 now, and he's pretty heavy set, and he remembered back in the day in his 30s hopping in a Ranger and being fine.
Yeah.
Well, he also added 150 pounds in the past 30 years, and it's like you don't fit anymore.
Right. Speaking of don't fit anymore, that 2023 Toyota Tacoma, Toyota's been teasing like crazy. Now, a couple weeks ago, they dropped that fun picture where it showed the old Tacoma, and the kind of in the background. You did a video on that, and then on the date on the license plate and stuff of what was it, 554 or something like that on Tuesday.
4/4/23.
Yeah, 4-4. And then
Everybody was
they
wrong.
yes, they dropped it. I mean, I love, you can go through the YouTube videos. It's hilarious. Launch date, launch date, launch date. All these guys just hoping, like no information. They're just hoping that's what that meant. Of course, I know you knew better on that. And I'm like, well, they're just going to tease you again, is all they're going to do. And sure enough, they did that. But then they accidentally might have, I say it's accidental. I don't know anymore what's accidental about these vehicles, but this popped up on their website real quick and accidentally disappeared real quick as well, which gives us a little more insight to I know it's black, but like we knew kind of what the lights were going to look like, but we see the light bar. It's obviously a TRD Pro because it's got that light bar down the middle. Pretty aggressive looking just from these views right here.
Yeah, I'm just on the website. I want to look at see what they had for upcoming because so the link still works. You can still find the link, but I'm just kind of curious what they had for update vehicles. No, they don't have it listed anymore. It's not under upcoming vehicles, so it's like this weird like hidden thing. I think that somebody still messed up in the web design department. I think this page was built and done, and then they weren't supposed to publish it, and then they published it, which means they made it live on the web.
Yeah.
And then, when it makes it live on the web, I think Google indexed it and somebody was on Toyota's website and happened to come across it. So,
so what's happened in the past, I know with Nissan, they build these sites and they put launch dates, much like we can launch our videos.
Yep.
And I know Nissan had a problem with, I caught them on it. I might have been the Titan. It popped up several hours before it was supposed to. And I know the PR or the social media person, and I texted her real quick and I was like, hey, is this supposed to be up here? And she was freaking out, thought she lost her job over it. Luckily she didn't, and nobody snagged it. But no, these things happen a little bit. But
well, it's just journalists, we break embargo, which means we let the information out before we're supposed to, and brands do the same thing. It's like it's webs. I broke embargo once on, was it a Tundra, because we put it in a playlist. So the video wasn't live, but we put it in a YouTube playlist, and somebody went to the playlist and the video popped up.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I took it down, but then people screenshotted the hell out of it, and I didn't get in trouble. I mean, I didn't get a stern talking to by Toyota. They were upset. I'm like, dude, I'm like, here's what happened there. And Toyota's PR team was like, no shit, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm sorry. I had no idea. And so then I posted on the Automotive Media group on Facebook to let everybody else know, hey, don't put these playlists. So like when I did the Tacoma teaser video, and I did the Jeep Wrangler, and I did the Ram Rev this week or whatever it was, I didn't put those in playlists. So I shot the video the day before because I had the information beforehand, and then I put it all together, and then I just then when it went live, I went back and added the playlist. I think I did. Maybe I didn't double check that, but yeah, I mean that stuff happens. I had another one where the WordPress site we use, not everybody, but most people use WordPress these days as for its publishing sites. Just fantastic platform. That website was in Eastern time, and I was in Mountain time, or whatever, vice versa. And I published a Tacoma 2016 Tacoma story an hour or two before it went live. And I was like, and I didn't know, it wasn't my website, so I was writing for somebody else, and I tried to call him, and he wouldn't answer his phone. And yeah, I mean, Toyota was joking around with me about it. I mean, we're I think what happens is, like at this point with these Tacoma photos, I think what happens is Toyota has saved the secret until that point, and once they get around that date, they're like, it's gonna come out anyways, right? So it's almost like it's post. It's like have you ever done events, right? So you've done events, and so if you go if you do all the event planning and you have the event, right, the big night of the event or whatever, it's almost anticlimactic because you've already done all the work to get to that event, and when you have the event, everything goes well. You're like, okay. It's like everything went fine, and it's not like a big deal.
And then there's an embargo, and you're just kind of like, by the time the embargo is up, you're just kind of like, I've moved on past that anyways. Like,
I mean, so when for example, next week I have some Chevy Silverado heavy duty news, right? And I'll do the video sometime this week. I think it goes next Thursday. There'll be some Chevy heavy duty news, and by the time that video goes live, I'm already 3 stories somewhere else, right? I'm
Yeah.
already videos somewhere else. So it's like the audience is excited, and they should be, right? It's new
Mhm.
content, new information. But from a PR team and a journalist standpoint, we're moved on.
Yeah. So this truck, now that we've seen a little bit more details of it, where are you at with this thing so far?
That's a funny question. I will say, I think I speak for most Toyota Tacoma people interested in truck market.
Mhm.
I'm concerned.
Really?
I'm concerned. Yeah, you know, for me, and I think for a lot of people, the Tundra was underwhelming.
Mhm.
And it just didn't. It wasn't what they called the world beater. It was going to supposed to whatever that marketing guy made a stupid comment. Called it wasn't. Everybody made it out like Toyota's calling this a world beater. No, some dumbass got drunk at the bar and told a journalist, "Hey, it's gonna be a world beater," kind of deal, because he was excited, because dealers are
Yeah.
excited, whatever.
Sure.
I'm concerned. I really am concerned.
Well,
It's like the plastic in the Tundra had a lot more plastic in it. The build quality wasn't quite there. I've
right.
gotten people that have screamed at me over the engineering issues. I've got so many hate emails. The infotainment system is better. Thankfully, through my feedback and other people's feedback, the infotainment system's a lot better. The powertrain did not get the powertrain. I got the fuel economy like once or twice, I think, but it's
Mhm.
pretty underwhelming. I'm concerned that it'll be hybrid only, and I'm concerned the hybrid won't be fuel economy. You pulled up I think you saw there. I have a wish
Yeah.
list, but um, because I really do wish. I wish a lot of these things, and I'm just concerned. I'm concerned. So what do I say? What's my number one? I think she bullet pointed these. Jill, my editor, she made them bold. Okay, so each one's bold. So go. What's the first one I talked about? Trying to remember.
Let's see. Better entry and exit.
Yes. So I don't know about you, but I have literally gotten headaches from smacking my head in the cab of the Colorado Canyon, or the Tacoma. Excuse me. We're talking about Tacoma. Getting it out
I've
of it.
not done enough time. I've done some time in, but I wouldn't say I've done enough time to.
Yeah, I have. I mean, the entry exit or the door opening is just narrow because the rake of the windshield and the overall
Mhm.
slimness of the body. And even the chief engineer, Sheldon Brown, him and I are discussing it, and he got in. I actually did a video. I think I was going to do a video of him, and I decided not to because it was kind of poor taste. But he even did this thing. So you kind of do this head thing. You kind of,
Yeah.
and I've talked to a lot of people that have the same problem. I've talked to other people who don't have that problem. It's funny. I had one guy who was like adamant. He's like, I don't have a problem. You're full of crap, whatever. And so then I said, hey, why don't you go do it and have your girlfriend video you getting in and out? And so he did it. He came back and was like, "Some bitch, I do it." Because you get ingrained in how you're getting in and out, so you don't even think about it, right? So
Right.
with the Tacoma, the rake of that A pillar forces me to choose to either put my butt in first and swim my legs, or it caused me to do like this kind of deal. And then
Yeah.
once you get in, it's fairly underwhelming, because either for a lot of tall guys, they're basically sitting in the floor like they're like in a bathtub. Imagine sitting
Yeah.
in the bathtub straight up. That's that position. They put the raised seat in that for the 22, 21 model year or whatever. And I raised the seat all the way up, and I had to take my head and cockeye and put it through the sunroof at the full, so I could see over the steering wheel. And it just, all I want. I was actually watching my neighbor. And he's got a, it's I don't know what generations they are, but it's like a 2000, Tacoma, and it's a perfect shape, and the door is perfect, and so you can get it out easily. That first thing I wish. Second thing, fuel economy. I just, the Tundra hybrid powertrain was built for towing and torque, and
Right.
the fuel
See, but
economy.
I like that. I'm not worried about. For me personally, I know this has been a because you had one of these. I kind of like the idea that I mean, small displacements. We've beat this dead horse. You got to lose cylinders for carbon and emissions, but I like the fact that they're kind of like, okay, well, we can get that horsepower back with a hybrid system.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the point of view on that. I just think that, why don't they put an eco mode in that actually does the eco job?
Yeah. Well,
Right.
that's
So
any eco mode I've ever driven. I've done some testing on that.
it doesn't.
It's usually I get worse fuel economy.
Well, yeah, and I had a guy who was arguing with me about this, because he was like, I drove on the highway and I got really poor fuel economy with eco, and I'm like, eco does nothing on the highway. Like,
Just
it does nothing.
throttle and
Yeah, throttle. Eco is much better for city driving. You'll get much better fuel economy because you're slower off the line. You're shifting the highest gear as fast as possible. I just think to myself, Chevy's tuning these Colorados and Canyons to different horsepower and torque through tune. The Toyota has the Sienna that gets 42 miles per gallon or something. I mean, in a freaking minivan. And so it's like for my I wish brands would do this. I'm going to take the Tacoma and I'm going to tune it and do the software calibrations, the hybrid, to make that really good off-road climber.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But I'm going to take the SR5 Tacoma and I'm going to create an eco version of this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tune it with the software programming that powertrain is going to get really great fuel economy. Like, just give us some choices because I know you can do it.
But the battery pack in these aren't that big anyways, though, right?
They're not. And that's the other problem is that with Toyota's legal and safety team, they have to put that battery into the cab, which destroys and takes away any under seat storage in the rear.
Yeah.
And so it's like I said, I just think that consumers need more choices. I'd like to have better fuel economy. I think fuel economy needs to improve. And I'm just, give me more of a reason, like back in the day, that the old S10 was really good. I need that.
Yeah, I know you talk about the you want some options for cabs and bed choices, and then this week we both reported on it that it looks like a long bed, maybe a Trail Hunter version or a TRD Pro, but it looked like a long bed truck.
Yeah, so I either missed it or I ignored it. So I don't know. People pointed out my video. So there was spy photos I bought, and he was talking about it being a more off-roady Tacoma TRD Pro version. And I was like, no, that's a Trail Hunter because Trail Hunter is their sub brand for more. Was it more
Aftermarket-ish kind of
stuff? Yeah. So people, I said that's going to be a Trail Hunter version. But then people said, well, you missed the biggest one. That's a long bed double cab. Well, here's the problem with camouflage. It's really hard to look at proportions and angles of photos, right? So you look at that and you're thinking, okay, that's a double cab and it's got to have the long bed. And I'm like, is it really? Or is it camouflage, right? So all that camo really makes it hard to determine. I can see where people said that and I can see where people thought I missed it. And I'll take that criticism because I don't, to me, until you, if they would park that truck next to a current gen Tacoma or a Ford Ranger or whatever, then we could talk about dimensions. But if it's just driving around with all that camo on there, it's just really difficult to talk about dimensions. And that somebody said, well, that's a 5-foot bed because the wheels move back about a foot. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Let me get my tape measure out there.
Yeah.
So Greg said he said on multiple channels, I hope seating position is more like the first gen Tundra. I'm 6'3". I have a 13 Tundra. Would love a Tacoma for daily, but cannot fit in its current form. I really think they're going to address that, Tim, because I know this is kind of hard. You got this maybe snorkel up here. It kind of doesn't give you an idea of the entry and the way this wraps around, but it looks like if you look where the window is up here, it looks pretty tall. So I have a feeling they've addressed that a little bit.
Yeah, well, and here's the other problem with proportions. See that let's say it's double cab. See that window that's in the second? Well, that's all covered up. So I mean, it looks like a double cab because it's only got that small little window thing. But is it really?
Well, you can see the handle right here,
right
under that bag.
But it just I don't know. I would love the better seating position. I think like I said, they made the current generation so slim that, and I'm not asking for 25 feet taller. I'm not asking for 15, whatever. I just want another 3 or 4 inches. 3 or 4 inches a little taller would be perfect.
I hope they don't start making them wider, because I've liked that Toyota kind of kept to the roots of more of a. I mean, I know that's more or less elbow room between you and your passenger, but I like the fact that we'll say the current generation, it still feels like a smaller import truck to me. I know obviously the headroom, but I think that's one of the things that I don't necessarily like about the newer GMC and Chevrolet is they're starting to feel wider and wider, and then of course you get a Trail Boss and the fenders are getting wider. I'm hoping this does feel a little bit like an import truck still, though.
What I don't understand, and I pointed that in the article too, was that the Colorado, you don't have to pull the article up, but the Colorado is, I think it's 1 foot longer, maybe not a foot, maybe, so it's longer, wider, taller, right? That's what the Colorado is. But they didn't make the interior room any bigger. And so I'm like, if you're going to go wider with your physical dimensions, then give me a little more space inside the cabin. And that I just don't understand. And then also give me a rear seat that people can sit in. Like, and that's my concern too with the Tundra, was that the double cab Tundra with the new generation, you can't sit in the back seats. I interviewed a guy, his kids don't even fit in the back seats of the double cab Tundra. It's so tiny back there. And I'm like, if you're going to make the vehicle physically bigger, then give me more interior room. I don't need, like you said, I don't need a wider track. I don't need not fit my garage. I don't need additional width. I need 3 inches more in the room in interior. Give me more interior space, because I think what would happen there for your guy who's 6'3", Greg, is he would be able to buy a Tacoma, and that's probably what he wants, maybe for his needs, if it was just a little bit bigger inside.
Yeah.
But he's forced to buy a full size so he can fit. And for me, our population, people are growing, they're getting bigger, they're either getting taller or wider in the middle. Well, we're doing either one, right? And so it's like, we need a little. I don't mind the trucks getting a little bit bigger. What I don't like is they're not getting any bigger inside the cabin.
Yeah. Well, and that is part of me liking kind of a slimmer truck is, yeah, you're not going to get, there's only so much room. There's so much, you have to have so much, this is an assumption, so much door space between you and the car coming at you, like for safety and stuff. So yeah, at some point they do have to get wider. And of course, safety concerns always gets more stringent. So it's harder to build the old style trucks because everybody wants those old hard bodies and the original truck. They all want that, but they'll never pass safety anymore. So yeah, and then people get used to tech. They want all this tech, airbags. You got to hide all that stuff somewhere. So yeah, I can see why they get wider. But Tim, it's starting to look more and more like this. That was actually the truck that that was out there. The headlights look awful lot like what we've seen.
It's just a bad Photoshop job. Obvious. I think it's a few things are obvious, right? So it's gonna, whenever the Tacoma comes out. Actually, I already know this, but whenever a new vehicle comes out, they borrow pieces from other vehicles, economics of scale, and they also want all their new vehicles to look the same. So, for example, the Chevy Colorado sure looks like a lot like the Silverado, because they want that. That's the point. They want them all to have a similar look. Nissan's done this. You've covered up for years. The Frontier now looks more like what their current lineup is, right? So, they want everything. They want everything to kind of match. What?
make your little truck look like something that doesn't sell in the full size, but sure.
Right. Sure. A good plan. But, I think the front lights and the grille were pretty obvious. I think that was pretty obvious. Yeah. I think the fog lamps below that front grille and that bottom grille, that was already pretty obvious, right? Yeah. This is something. To me, that's a Photoshop image, something I could just do myself. There's really, we knew that was going to be. What we don't know is we don't know the height of the cabin, and we don't know what the interior looks like. But I'm telling you, guess what? The Grand Highlander looks a lot like the Highlander, and the Sequoia looks a lot like the Tundra. So if you want the Tacoma interior, just go take the Tundra interior and take it on a screen with Photoshop and make it smaller.
Well, I definitely think that is true. And of course, the one thing I could ding, I drove a 22, I guess is the last truck I reviewed for a Tacoma. And yeah, the interior is where they just were not keeping up with the big boys. And obviously they still sell a ton of these things, over 200,000 a year, but
yeah.
I'm hoping I'm a fan of the interior of the Tundras. So I like the way the radio lays out. I don't like in the TRD stuff where they stamp Toyota out there. It just feels like you get in a bumper accident and my kid's head's going to be tattooed with a
Jill and we argued about that a lot. I think it's stupid, and Jill loves it.
Well, it's cool. It was cool if it was a concept, that would be cool. But I'm just, because I have young kids, I'm like, I could see that. I don't need an O.
I want to rip it off. I think it's just corny. I just don't like it. Interestingly enough, I get a Tacoma in a couple weeks, which is for a review, and it's kind of odd for me to get one because I haven't had a Tacoma in about a year. But I'm getting a Tacoma, but here's a better kicker of this: I'm getting a Tacoma double cab. So basically, I don't want to talk about timing, but within a relatively short period of time of me getting that truck, I will be flying somewhere to see the new truck. is what was
Right.
going to happen, right? So I mean, the time I can't tell you what timing is, but timing's pretty close, right? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shoot this video, this double cab, right, and just put it on the back burner and wait to drive the new one and do a comparison because nobody wants to know about the double cab Tacoma. It's it's been covered 1,000 times,
Yeah,
but
if
I
you
think it's
haven't seen it by now, forget it.
yeah, if you I mean, come on now, right? So like I'm getting this double cab, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? I mean, but Tacoma, they still got some Tacomas to sell. So they still need reviews out there, and this is just kind of the last time. This is the last go around, and it is interesting. I'm getting that truck in a couple weeks, so and I'm going to spend time in the rear seats of the cab because I don't recall that the Tacoma rear seats are anything to write home about. I don't think there's much storage back there. I don't think it is going on.
Well, and I mean but that's midsize in general. I mean, me and Kelly, that was one of the things I thought when I did the last Frontier I thought, well, it sits okay. I don't want to sit back here,
Right, right.
I think on short trips, adults can be back there or kids, it's fine, but they have to sit so straight up. It's just, in my opinion, not very comfortable.
Well, yeah, but I still think just give us a couple more inches, just a couple more inches. Like the Colorado
Heard
actually,
that before.
yeah, right. The legroom in the Colorado is actually less this generation or prior generation, and
Yeah.
they came out. And the engineer came out and said, "Well, that's because we changed the way we measure interior space now, and it's actually the same." I'm like, what a load of bull that was.
Because
come
they
on.
changed the way they did the interior.
Yeah. So the measurements actually less because they changed the way they did the interior measurements. I was like,
Okay.
all right. So I think I said it in video and I kind of, half-heartedly said it because I was like, that's such a bull thing. Like you've been designing trucks for 70 years and you decided this generation to change the way you measure it so it comes off as less.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make
So where do you think the lineup for this truck? Where are they gonna go with this? Obviously, SR5, the SR5s, and on. Do you think that they're gonna add? I know everybody wants this Trail Hunter option. Is that going to be its own trim, or is that just going to be like a package that you can add on to your?
It's
your
gonna be a
trim?
package you can add on to, and they're for sure gonna offer that because accessories have tons of margin or profit, and so
Mhm.
and people are modifying Tacoma anyways. So Toyota wants to tap into that, make some of that money themselves. So it's gonna be a Trail Hunter version, which it gets me thinking. As a business owner, right? So as it's that I'm laughing because I had a comment yesterday. This guy, I did a video on a Silverado, the Silverado I bought for the year. I talked about it being a business expense and work truck, and this guy flew off the handles. He's like, "How can you call this a work truck? Most businesses drive these as work trucks. They're actually businesses, whatever." And
Right.
I shared it to Dave because it's just hilarious. I was like, "This guy doesn't understand that YouTube channel is a business."
Yeah.
Newsflash, folks. Newsflash. Dave and I aren't doing this because we're volunteering.
Right.
This is a business. This is, yes, we get paid to do this. Yes, that's how this works, right? Dave wants to get paid more to do this. He doesn't do his other crappy job. That's Dave's goal doing this. That's why Dave reads all these articles, watches videos, he puts his own videos. This is a business, and so I bought the Silverado as a business. And the guy goes, "You never talked to your business once," and I was like, "What you just watched was the business."
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking about this Trail Hunter, thinking to myself, you know what? I wonder. I was thinking about buying the Tacoma when it comes out because it's been a really popular vehicle, and I want to cover it more in detail, like I did with the Tundra. But I was thinking, man, I would think about it from the YouTube standpoint. I kind of want the Tacoma Trail Hunter because that Tundra Trail Hunter that I saw that mock up in person in SEMA at the SEMA show in Vegas, and that thing's badass. Like,
I saw it at Chicago Auto Show. It was very nice.
Yeah, I like that. I don't like the yellow lights so much on the grill. I'd probably take those off. But I like the bumper and I like the front bumper. I like the graphics on the side. I think, and I like the wheels and tires, like those front yellow lights. I'd probably get rid of those. But I think it looks pretty badass. And so then I'm thinking, so is that the next frontier for me? Is that not buy the stock Tacoma, but buy the Trail Hunter version of it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's because the Trail Hunter version's got me definitely interested. So it's, and I guess that's what I'm saying about my concern with the Tacoma is that I am concerned that the base truck will be underwhelming like the Tundra was. And then I'll be sitting there going, man, show me the Trail Hunter version, right? Yeah. So like, it's like I know I want to like it, and I'm gonna answer honestly, but I'm like, man, Trail Hunter may be the best way to go. And that's the thing. So for me, it's pretty simple. Give me just a little bit more interior space. Don't Don't make the truck bigger make it bigger for the bigger sake of give me a little more interior space. Give me a little more. I want to be able to get in the truck without moving my head. I want to sit in the seat without looking like I'm in a bathtub. I want to have a good seating position. I want to like that truck. And then give me something. Give me some wow factor. Give me either good fuel economy or sure, give me all the torque. I understand the Tacoma TRD Pro, but give me something I'm really excited about. Like give me something I'm excited about, and then give me the Trail Hunter version, because that to me is the version that I think I'd probably buy, because I'm sorry, but the tow hook situation. And tow hook situation, I had the rear bumper. My neighbor comes over and he looked at the truck and I was trying to sell my Tundra, and he goes, "I can't buy it." I said, "Why?" He goes, "That rear bumper just pisses me off." And I said, "It pisses me off too, right?" And the Tacoma, I'm fine with the rear bumper being that way because the truck's usually shorter. You can hop in.
Yeah.
If you don't know, that the Tundra bumper is rounded on the back corner, so you can't, with the tailgate down, you can't get in a truck unless you are, I guess, a lot more flexible than I am, and you can run and jump into the back of the truck. Which I had a guy do that. He goes, "I just jump in my back truck all the time." I'm like, "Yeah, when I was 20, I did that."
Yeah, what are we, parkour here all of a sudden?
Right?
Bounce off my house.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't need it. I just want to hop in. And they're like, "Well, the step." And I'm like, "Oh, I got to buy the step." So you got to buy the step, and you got to put the step on, do this, and all kind of terms. So,
well, and they sent you a step, right? Like I remember you had.
Oh yeah. They sent me a step because I was bitching so much about it, and then I bitched about how the instructions in the step weren't accurate, and they redid the instructions. And then somebody messaged me on YouTube, and they're like, or whatever, comment, whatever, like, "Oh, hey, they changed the instructions on this. Actually, it works now." And I'm like, "Great." So I mean, and that I make, I don't know, change whatever, but I'm just like, it's just frustrating. But yeah, and here's a question. So this is the thing. See those photos, the way that slanted those photos are? Don't you? That looks like a 4-foot bed, or even a 3-foot bed. It's just the angle of the photos. That's why I'm saying those spy photos are really hard to determine what the dimensions are, because all the cladding and the way the angle of the photo is. I mean, in the right photo, I weigh 160 pounds. I mean, you give me the right angle and the right lighting. I look like I'm like Tom Cruise, man. Give me the right lighting and the right makeup and stuff, right? But give me the real life version, and you're probably disappointed in what I look like. That's fine. I'll take that.
Right. Well, but so with this, I mean, Toyota, for the Trail Hunter, they're generally a fairly conservative company, and they don't like options usually. They like to build you what they want to build. It's not like with the Bronco or any of these things where you can add stuff to it, Sasquatch package, whatever. They usually just like to go, "Hey, this is what you get." Now, is this something with them moving production down to Mexico that it might be a little bit more affordable for them to start optioning trucks out where they can have these things? Or I've never known them. They like to go like TRD Pro, you can buy this and you can, if options, that's the wheel locks.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's Toyota's business model, no matter where it's built. That's why people are like, "I wish Toyota would give me more choices, more of this, whatever." I do too, but they're one of the biggest companies in the world because of their business model. I mean, look at you get white, you get red, you get this lunar. It's like what's new in Tacoma this year? Ooh, it's lunar rock color, or it's this. I mean, that's how they've done business. So people, it's always funny because people will comment and they hate that about Toyota. And then you go look at sales volume, look at profit, and Toyota's one of the most profitable companies with lots of sales volume, because that's how I do it. Now, the Trail Hunter version is, I think the reason they're able to do that is because that is not the standard version, and it allows them to get around the legal and safety team. Because I think the people don't, that the biggest key with the Toyota that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to a lot of customers is Toyota is a very conservative company. They don't make things happen. And so it's a great story. There's a video, about 2 years ago, where the Tacoma was driving and they were jumping dirt bikes over top the Tacoma, and they had a truck coming around. It was a really cool Toyota commercial. And I remember that. I went to the chief engineer and I was like, "Dude," I'm like, "how'd you get that commercial done?" I'm like, that's a cool commercial. He looked at me, he goes, "It was great." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Because we brought it in to the safety team and the legal team." And he says, "We showed them this first video that was even more out there, like really close, like stuff. And then we showed them the other video." And then they're like, they freaked out about the first video. And then we showed them the other video, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." Because that's the only way we got it done.
Well, with all the trims that they do seem to offer, do you think we'll get a capstone in this truck? If they gotta acknowledge GMC's
Ooh, Denali, right? That's
Denali a
an
little bit.
interesting question because I mean the limited isn't very. I mean it doesn't have a lot to it.
Yeah, it's never been much.
Hmm. Wow, that's a really good question. I hadn't
I
thought
mean,
about that.
because they don't want to lose. Clearly, GM and Ford and everybody's trying to nick. You like this in midsize. This is the truck to beat. For whatever reason, people love this truck. So they're maybe their GM and M's like, well, if we ultra plush one, we're going to start pulling away sales. Maybe they'll go look at the high end truck and they can only afford
Right.
the
It's a profit play too, right? So
sure. Oh, sure.
oh yeah, so the capstone is a profit play for sure, and people want it. I mean, I get the guy the other day, he goes, I want you to, he goes, trucks are too expensive and they're just terrible things. They're, the pricing is just terrible. He says, I want you to do a video where you do a cost analysis and how you break down how it depreciates so fast, and then I'll need you to also in the video discuss how people's personal finances allow them to buy a truck and why they make the personal decisions they do. And I'm like, I don't have a crystal ball here, buddy. Like
Yeah.
people buy what they want to buy, and I'm sorry to disappoint people on YouTube land, but people are still buying trucks at volume. The market, automotive market isn't dying. Ford isn't going under. Chevy's not getting a bailout tomorrow. I mean, I'm sorry.
Maybe
You can make doom and
those
gloom as much
videos.
as you want, but my neighbor just bought a new Ford Bronco. He paid over sticker. He doesn't care. He
Yeah.
wanted the
He wanted
Bronco.
the vehicle he wanted.
Yeah, he was looking around for about a year and a half and came to the conclusion that he wanted one. And he saw mine when I had mine out there or the press review, and he's my chiropractor. Him and I talk about it. He was talking about it for me for a while. He sold his Suburban he had. He sold his Dodge Challenger he had. I mean, he set himself up, so he went in and paid pretty much cash for it or
Yeah.
small loan,
Yeah.
whatever. So I mean, this guy was planning ahead, and that's what he wanted. And so look at how people bitching about midsize trucks are too expensive. They go to a Facebook group and count how many people have midsize trucks in order that
Yeah.
of the Colorado, right? There's a lot of people that want it. So, and like we said earlier, the mid-sized truck customer isn't the same as a full-size truck customer. So, if like I did a story years ago about a GMC Canyon Denali when it first came out because I thought it was dumb. I didn't understand it, and I interviewed a guy who was a Marine up in Pennsylvania, and he was just like, yeah, he goes, I wanted that truck, one mid-sized truck, and I want all the features. He goes, I didn't want to have to go to the Sierra 1500 Denali and get all that stuff. I wanted to get all the stuff I wanted, at that point. So I'm like, makes sense to me. It makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I could see them going with the capstone version. I mean, the other thing to consider too is look at that price point. That TRD Pro is 47,185, right? That's not going to be the 2023 or 2024 model.
No,
No,
it's probably 49.95.
it's probably
At
52.
minimum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably banging on the door 50 because I mean the Denali Canyon's what 55. The AT4X Edition 1 was 63. And
Yeah.
so, the GMC sold out of that AT4X Special Edition 1. So,
Yeah.
if I'm Toyota and I'm going to come with it and I'm thinking about going to Capstone, I'm like, why not just offer it? If people don't buy it, I can get rid of it, right? We're talking about the Ford Bronco, different trim levels, stuff like that. I mean, if people don't buy it, I just kill it. Who cares? I'll offer it and see if people want it, and then go from there.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think
like I said before, it's low hanging fruit for some of
yeah,
these companies.
you put a little more chrome on there. You put a little bit better materials. You make it a little fancier, and people buy it. Great. If they don't, okay. If people, people are going to see that truck and they're going to comment. They're going to be like, it's absurd, the price point, whatever. And then nobody realizes that you don't have to actually buy that trim. There's other trims out there. You can buy the one that fits your budget. And so I think they'll offer it. I think now that I think about it, I think it makes sense. They already have it. And the only thing I can see them not doing is I don't believe there's a Sequoia capstone. Is there a Sequoia capstone?
I thought there was.
Because to me, if they do it in Sequoia and they do it, let's see, Sequoia. Sorry, thoughts get in our head. And then, so there's a SR5 Limited Platinum TRD Pro capstone. Yeah, there's a capstone Sequoia. So if you have a capstone Sequoia, you have a capstone Tundra. Want to have a capstone Tacoma? Because
and then wait for Forerunner. Forerunner capstone.
Oh, Forerunner is such a funny vehicle. It's such a funny story.
That's horrible to be in that vehicle anymore, man. That vehicle is not kept up with the times at all.
Well, what's funny is, I guess I should tell you the story is that I was talking with some Toyota folks about it. We were at dinner or whatever, And one of the head guys, he came over after we're done. He goes, "Yeah," he goes, "I drive that thing. And that thing's terrible." He goes, "It just you can't. It shifts weird. It can't get out of fifth gear. It just or fourth gear, whatever. It goes over the highway. It's underpowered. It's terrible." And it honestly, the 4Runner's not terrible. It's just when you compare it to today's vehicles, it feels really terrible, right? I mean, just
Yeah.
because of just because if you went and bought a 4Runner today, you'd get used to it and you'd be fine with it. But if you
Mhm.
if you go drive everything else, then the 4Runner, you're like, oh my god, this 4Runner's terrible. But he was laughing about it because he's like, he goes, man. But the funny thing with 4Runner is that most of the Toyota truck guys, if they're not going to buy it, they don't tend to buy Tundras very often for whatever reason. They'll buy a Tacoma or they'll buy a 4Runner. I can't tell
Yeah.
you how many guys I know in upper levels of PR and upper levels of engineering who have 4Runners.
Oh, the Nissan people used to have tons of Xteras
Yeah,
over at HQ.
right. And funny is Toyota Japan tried to kill the 4Runner, and Toyota's U.S. team went over there and bitched about it. Do you know I
Yeah.
did a video in Japan on the production line where the 4Runner was done?
I
And
remember you being over there.
yeah, so I went there and I did a video on Tahara where they build the 4Runner. And
Mhm.
part of the reason I went over there is from PR. The US PR team wanted me to cover that production to show Toyota Japan, hey,
Yeah.
we want this vehicle. So I mean, I was a pawn in the big battle basically, and I didn't care. I went to Japan. I was like, I want,
I was
and
gonna say
I
they
I
might have
really
paid
wanted to
for
see the plant.
flight.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I have a great story from the plant. I wish my video was, you always kick yourself for not doing as good a job video as you wanted to. But yeah, I mean, I had a great time at the plant. I learned a lot. That plant is super cool. I learned,
Mm.
I learned a lot from that trip. But yeah, part of the reason I went over there was Toyota was like, we need more coverage of this, and we need more U.S. people to do this coverage so we can keep this vehicle. But it's been
Yeah.
Toyota's been on Toyota Japan's killed that 4Runner off future product planning many times, and the engineering team still. So the people always ask me like why aren't they redoing it? I'm like, you should just be happy you have it as an option.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because Nissan killed in 15, they killed the Xterra off because poor timing, really, because as soon as they killed it off is when all this big off-road stuff
Yeah.
started getting back in. But yeah, like Nissan has the Terra all over the other continents in cheap markets. And I remember talking to Nissan's PR about this. I was like, why do you not bring that Xterra back? Because the version that Indonesia got was the third generation Xterra they were going to build here. And she goes, well, it's just not nice enough for the US market. And I was like, people don't want, clearly you were just talking about poor driving of these vehicles. Some people just want, I won't say a bad driving vehicle, but they just want a vehicle that feels like an old school vehicle. And
Yeah.
I think I see a lot of ladies in town driving 4Runners in the big TRD Pros. They're lifted. They want to feel connected. They just want to feel badass. And those vehicles speak to that, where a minivan doesn't. And you can still get 3 or 4 kids in the back, somewhat comfortably. But you can still, if you want to feel like you probably never go on an adventure in it, but you want to feel like if I needed to, escape those zombies, I could do it.
Yeah, looks are big. Like, I don't tend to comment on looks of the vehicle very often unless I don't like it, like Tundra, I didn't like the limited look at all. But I don't tend because looks are so subjective.
Yeah.
But I know people that buy vehicles based on looks alone, and that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put down your buying reasons for whatever reason you chose because that's not my purview. Looks are important, and I'd also say I wrote an article and I think I deleted it. I may write it again, but one of my biggest issues with EVs right now is EVs are such a numb driving experience. They're just boring.
Yeah.
Even and you can come at me. I've driven the Teslas. I've driven the Hummers. I've driven the Ford Lightnings. I've driven the Rivian. I've driven all those EVs, and in all cases, I just find them to be numb. And they're one trick ponies, right? So like
Yeah.
the
Go
Tesla
fast.
Model S goes really fast. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it.
So the
Um,
Kia EV6 that I drove, it went really fast for a small car. And then what?
yeah,
I enjoyed it. I don't know if I was going to probably buy it, that would be the EV for me, but no, they don't feel connected to the road. Like you corner them, it feels like an electric go-kart of some sort is what it
yeah.
feels
I
like.
mean, the Hummer is super cool. I did crab walk a dozen times. I did Watch Freedom a dozen times, and then I was like, okay.
Yeah, now what?
Like now what? Ford Lightning is really fast. I don't drive trucks that fast personally, and so once I got done showing it off to my friends and driving fast, I just drove around town normally, and I was like, okay. Like, and that's, I mean, I was talking to my neighbor about this too. It's like I don't. I really have concerns with my work and concerns with my career when we get to this all EV stage and then we do more autonomous driving. Because what am I going to do? We're gonna get these vehicles. We're gonna push the button. It's gonna tell me where to go. I'm gonna swivel my seat around. I'm gonna look at you. We're gonna talk for like the whole trip, and then turn around.
We're not
and
going to talk. We're going to be on our phones. Come on, let's be honest.
Yeah, I'll be playing Xbox. I'll be playing. I don't know. I'll be playing Forza inside the vehicle to get the good driving experience I want in the vehicle, right? So I'll be basically we're gonna have these cars. They're gonna turn into shuttles, right? They're gonna be transport shuttles because you're just gonna press a button. It's gonna drive itself. It's EV, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, when we get to that point, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna go to a different industry because there's nothing there. And then when for like an EV, for example, what are you gonna talk? You're gonna talk about range. You can talk about fast charging times. You talk about how big the battery is, right? So like the Ram Rev I did, right? I did the 5 things, no, whatever kind of video. And we talked about 500 miles of range and the massive 228 kilowatt hour battery. And we talked about DC fast charging 100 miles within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it. I mean, that's it. I mean, I'm not going to talk about torque. I don't, they're like, it's 683 foot-pounds of torque, whatever. No, who cares?
Well, I will say with that truck, though, they were at least smart enough not to do this incredible 0 to 60 time. It's like 6 seconds or something.
It's maybe, was it 4 or 5? I don't know what who cares?
It was pretty high number for what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. I mean, and people talk about, like the Hummer's got like 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, whatever deal is. It's like, you don't feel it. It doesn't, it doesn't, it puts me back in my seat a little bit. But the thing is that vehicle is over 8,000 pounds.
Yeah.
So it better well damn had that much torque because you're moving this big slug around the road, right? I mean, imagine, it's like I have this Honda HRV outside. I used to do a 100-mile drive with it. It's got 158 horsepower or something. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh! I put my foot out the leg and started kicking like a Flintstone style, trying to get more horsepower to this damn thing, right? So because it's very small. Like that's how much that vehicle needs because it's very small. That customer doesn't want that customer who's buying the Honda HRV. Let's be honest, they have no interest in vehicles that go fast.
Actually, like that. HRV. I'm sorry. I thought I was thinking of the Toyota, whatever that little hatch they do is.
Oh, the Corolla Cross.
No, they have it's H something.
Oh, CHR.
Yeah, which is the juke in me.
I know. I love
vehicles.
I have to tell you the joke on that. I was in Los Angeles and they had a bunch of CHRs. I think they call them CHRs, whatever. They were sitting at being transported. They had shipped them in. They put them on this big lot. The train was going to come by, pick them up in a trail car and send them up. And I was walking with a Toyota PR rep at the time, and he looked over and goes, "Hey, look, there's a car we can't sell." And they were just, there was 5,000 of these things. As far as you can see, all these CHRs, and he's like, he goes,
awful name.
Oh, it's a terrible name. The rear door was weird. You had to it was like up the door. They make these compact crossovers tiny. Then they put the door doesn't have a normal latch in the rear. It's the weird one up top, right? I've seen a few different brands do this. And so it's just it's so weird. But
the Hyundai Velosa Raptor or whatever.
Honda Velosa, whatever it is. But the same handle up top. But TR's PR was just like, hey, there's a car we can't sell. Nobody wants, that's these guys, all the PR people I've ever talked to, they're all real people. I mean, they're doing a job. They have to represent the brand, but they make jokes. I mean, and the thing is like, I was talking to my dad once, and he was a GM for years, and he says, look, if you get a car or vehicle or whatever, and it's a dog, just say it's a dog. Yeah. He goes, they know it's a dog. They're gonna be, they're gonna be shocked if you don't call it what it is. And like the Tundra, right? So I was not very kind to Tundra, and the chief engineer got mad at me. We had some arguments online, but I've pointed out lots of things. And I was talking to, I went and visited Toyota again in Michigan. I was hanging out with one of the vice presidents, and we were at the bar at the golf course. Wow, that just totally sums up my life. And we're
about what you're about to be,
right? We're at the bar in the golf course and talking about stuff, and he's just like, he goes, we screwed that up and we screwed this up, whatever. And then I was down in Toyota's headquarters, and the chief guy for the entertainment system comes over and introduced himself because I talked to a few people out from his team on the phone. I did some chats, and I think Jill was next to me. And Jill says, "Oh, I'm surprised you're still talking to Tim after those comments." And he kind of smiled. He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "We watched all Tim's videos on this, and there's things that Tim pointed out that we probably did a bad job at, and we fixed those things." And so I was just arguing with arguing. I probably was arguing with my friend, journalist this morning. We're talking about press trips and talking about press loans and all this kind of. There's this whole FOMO thing in the industry, but and he's like, well, these guys that go on these trips, they have to write these glowing reviews. They're scared they'll never get another trip, and I'm like, that's unprofessional and it's just dumb. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm not going to go on a trip and make a glowing discussion about this vehicle, like, because that doesn't help anybody.
Well, we
I
know
want
of
to go.
people that will do that though.
Yeah, and to
And they
me, it's
hub up to
like,
PR.
and that's useless. And that, to me,
Yeah.
that's not on the industry. That's not on Motor Trend, Car and Driver. That's on just a bad person. And there's
Yeah.
bad people in your industry and my industry and what your day job. So it's just bad. It's just bad person. And the other thing that he doesn't quite understand, and it's just there's a little FOMO going on, right? So there's always FOMO in this industry. You see your colleague that flies to France and sips wine at a winery and drives vehicle, and you're just like, and you get mad and you get jealous and you get FOMO. I don't,
because
get
you
it
know how
anymore.
good those trips are too.
Yeah, well, to me, I look at that trip and think to myself, oh, I'm on a plane for 14 hours. I'm on the ground for 2 days, and I got to fly 14 hours back, which means I lose 4 days of work.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I lose money on those trips. There are trips I turn down because I can't make a profit at it because it makes no sense. And the other thing that happens that he doesn't understand is, like, for example, I went to Colorado to launch, right? So I go to Colorado launch. I'm there in California. I get what, the 4-5 hours behind the wheel, and people are like, well, I had a guy who goes, what'd you think of the build quality of the Colorado you drove versus the Frontier? And I'm like, I can't tell you that. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I don't have that much time. Like, you're in the truck 4 hours. You have a driver out. You have to switch partners. You have driving somebody else. You're talking about the industry stuff. You're talking about shop, whatever. You're switching drivers. You're going to lunch. You're going off-roading the course they've set up. I mean, and the thing is, like, the thing that people understand is those press vehicles we get in are perfect. They're absolutely perfect. It's so funny. Like the Tundra has a gap with a weather stripping on the rear windows, right? Those little gap that weather stripping doesn't meet up, which really just bugged the crap out of me. It's just my OCD went crazy on that. But guess what? Every press vehicle I was in, there was no gap. But you go to the dealer lot and there's a gap, right? Because they go over these press vehicles like with a white glove, right? So I'm not going to comment on build quality because it doesn't, there's no way I can do it. And your time of these events is so narrow. So, like, this guy was bitching about these people writing these glowing reviews. Well, you're going to say a lot of positive things about a vehicle when you go someplace, not because they put you up, but because it's your first time behind the wheel, first time seeing it. You're excited to see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I went to Colorado. I was excited to see it. I want to drive it. I was really hyped up about it. And people are going, well, what about this? Didn't you like that? And I'm like, maybe. I think I talked about it on camera. I talked about, I try really hard to point out some negative things on trips because I think it's fair. There's things that I thought was goofy, right? The headlight switch was weird. A little goofy with that. There's no physical knob anymore, but it's like, I don't have a day with a vehicle. Even a week-long review, unless the vehicle, I get it and I really hate it, like the Honda HRV. It's cheap. It's cheap interior. It doesn't ride really well. Not enough horsepower. I'll stay in the vehicle because I don't have all the distractions. I'm not in some fancy city trying to figure out like where I need to go. Like, the Jeep Wrangler was the worst. Absolutely the worst. I flew to New York City. I get in late. I'm tired. Next morning, they put us in Jeep Wranglers. We're 5 lanes of traffic crossing one bridge out of town, McCloskey.
Yeah.
What the bridge is? Anyways, we're 5 lanes of traffic. I'm freaking out about the traffic. I'm trying to do the road navigation. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not interested in looking around what I don't like of a vehicle and like nitpicking whether I like the weather stripping connection or something. Right?
Did you see that Ford was putting some journalists in the new Dark Horse downtown Manhattan?
Yeah.
I was like, and then it shows them like leaving right into traffic. I'm like, why? What? At no point would I wouldn't have went to that I got the first ride in that. I've sat in that car or some of these you get to sit on, like some of these you get to sit on way before the launch anyways. As journalists, we go to a like Chicago Auto Show. I can get in vehicles that you guys cannot get into. Like the Dark Horse, they offered me, hey, do you want to sit in this, kind of do a review in this vehicle? And I was like, Kelly really wanted to, but I was but I was just like, no, when I get to drive one, then it's more important to me than just sitting in it. I know Ratty rides in those, like he loves that stuff and he does that really well of talking, breaking the interiors down. But and I think there's journalists that do a little bit of something different than everybody. Like I'm very off-road oriented. Tim, you're just the everyman truck guy. It seems like there seems to be journalists that focus in on that
Yeah, we all,
stuff.
yeah. I mean, I have a friend. Well, Alex Dykes does this really well.
Mhm.
Alex loves to do like trim analysis, and he does like 30, 45-minute videos and trim analysis. And this and there. Man,
Yeah.
I fall asleep during that stuff. I can't. I have no interest in that. I mean, it just doesn't really get my attention. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the big takeaway from that is that you're gonna, if you go to a press trip, it's not because you're bought off that you're
Yeah.
doing a glowing review on something. It's that you're in a unfamiliar territory, unfamiliar city or place, and you're driving a vehicle first time ever, and it's all new, all different. And you just sat through the whole marketing presentation and all the engineering presentation, and then you did all this kind of stuff before you even get in the vehicle. And so your head is swimming with numbers. Like
Yeah.
I have, I take my notebook, right, and I'm writing down key stats and key horsepower and torque, and I'm writing all these numbers. That way on camera I can tell you those numbers because I can't, there's no way you're going to go and do a completely negative review on a vehicle. Because
Yeah.
negative reviews are just dumb. They're just unprofessional. Like I don't love the HRV. I don't love it. It's not, and I said in my video, this car is not for me. But if you're a young college student, if you're somebody who's really economical minded, if you don't love good driving vehicles and you want something with good reliability
You
and
really
good
sold
price
it, Tim.
point, here you go. Here's the
If you
vehicle, right?
if you like a piece of shit, here,
Right.
this
I
one's
mean,
for you. No.
you know what I mean? But I mean, so that's why I was trying to make the point with him. He would not hear me, but I'm like,
Yeah.
there. If you do an overly negative review, it's not helpful because what if I said the HRV was a pile of crap on camera and I
Yeah.
didn't, but let's say I did, right? And somebody comes to me and says, I love my HRV. Well, who am I to say that they're dumb?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of jerk am I to say, well, your vehicle choice is terrible? Here's why. Like, my goodness, I'm sorry. I'm not that big of an a-hole. I can't pull that off, right? There's
Yeah.
always something good about any vehicle out there. There's always something that's
Yeah.
good.
I love awful vehicles. I mean, I love the Nissan Juke.
Yeah,
I
that was
love that
terrible.
vehicle, and I would own another one of those in a heartbeat, and it wasn't a great driver, but for some
No.
reason, it was just fun and just it appealed to me.
Right. And I did videos on that and I didn't love it. But I
I know
wasn't
you've reminded me over 100 times of what a piece of turd that
terrible.
was.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like that's, people thrive on negative. They really do. Look at the YouTube
Yeah.
thumbnails we've talked about. Look at the
Oh,
YouTube, this truck's not selling, that truck's, people love negative. They want to be like, yeah, I thought the same thing. And I'm negative, negative, negative. In our world, negative moves the needle, right?
well,
People
and
love,
those people are never getting invited to any of this stuff either.
well,
So they're
because,
never gonna get a chance to be a real journalist.
and it's not because they're not good people. It's not because of it's just because how can you talk to that person? How can I go be on a press trip with somebody who only puts out negative, negative, negative stuff? Like
Mhm.
that person has no value to me. Like I don't, I want somebody who's gonna tell me that's why I started years ago doing 5 good things, 5 bad things every vehicle. We do those reviews all the time because there
Mhm.
are things we like about vehicles and there are things we don't like about vehicles. And I will tell you, hands down, the bad things, parts of those videos, they get much more play. They get much
Yeah.
more comments. I mean, I can see the spike in views, right? So it's usually like this.
Mhm.
You can see average view durations. It's a bar chart, right? And
Yeah.
so you can see where it goes down. And all of a sudden, the bad, whoop, people just fast forward to the bad things because they want to know what I don't like about the vehicle. And then
Because they'll
every
determine
time
their own good things.
I'll get these comments. They're like 500-word comments, right? And they'll say, "All right, let's talk about your 5 things." And they start like lining out the arguments against my 5 things. Well,
Yeah.
that's not a bad deal. You're just dumb. I mean, there's some people that actually go through and they write entire articles about how my 5 bad things are not their 5 bad things, and this is why. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's
awesome.
engagement.
I'm like, awesome. I mean, I wasn't. It's like these are things that matter to me, but they may not matter to you, right?
Right.
That's fine. I don't care. It's like, but yeah, people are like, oh, I don't like this. I'm going to tell you what's going on, and you don't like me. And I'm like, dude, I'm just telling you 5 things. Like, so my dad did this actually. I had the Cadillac XT6, which is like the midsize. I think it's 3 rows, 3-row Cadillac. It's basically a fancier version of the Chevy Traverse. That's what it is.
Brand with awful car names, by the way.
Right. I did 5 good things and 5 bad things. My dad watched the video and he went and bought one. And he calls me and I'm like, all right, that's cool. He goes, yeah, I watched your video. And he goes, your 5 bad things weren't a big deal to me.
Yeah.
Okay. like my freaking dad watches a video I did in bad things and buys the car anyways. That's that's the point. Like
Yeah.
but what I did for him, and I hope I do for other consumers, was I gave him some things to think about, and he did. He thought about he ignored my good things. Nobody cares about the good things. He looked at the bad things. He thought about them for his own personal viewpoint, and he went with his 5. And he said, "Yeah, I don't mind your 5 bad things. I can live with those."
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Tim, I'm going to one up you. I'm going to do 6 things for my videos.
Yeah, right. 6. I'm gonna do 7.5. Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, I could do every truck I get. I could do a full negative review on every truck, right? I could just do an absolute shit show on it, right? But who's it benefit, right? So with the Tundra, for example, with that infotainment system, I bashed that. I was so mad at that thing, and that really pissed me off. And I did a video on it, and I said, okay, here's some good things, and here's some bad, right? And Toyota's, to their credit, their chief engineer and their entertainment stuff, they watched my video, and then they changed the system to make it better for everybody. And that's all I want. I just wanted better for me, because I was sick and tired of screwing with that damn system. But they made it better, right, for everybody. And then it was so funny, because I was at headquarters talking to my friend from Motor Trend, and Motor Trend gave Toyota an award for how good the entertainment system was. And I looked at him and I said, it's really terrible, right? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, when we get them as press vehicles, when we get systems as press vehicles, they're already logged in, everything's set up for you, right? But as a consumer, with the Tundra, for example, I don't know if you know the story, but for the Tundra, when you buy it, you got to get the app, you got to download the app, you got to create an account for the app, then you got to go in the truck and you got to sign into the truck's infotainment system. Then it'll send you you put QR code goes on the screen. You got to scan the QR code, takes you another thing, you sign in. Then they text you a 4-digit code through your email account for like a triple verification BS thing.
Jesus.
Then if you don't get that in 10 minutes, the system logs back out. So my phone, people made a big comment. My phone refreshes emails really fast. The challenge is that I use GoDaddy as a separate email supplier, and the transfer time between a GoDaddy transferring the email to my phone is longer than 10 minutes at times if I'm not checking. So I have to pull over and get my laptop out to force it to send and receive, so that way I can see it faster. So and so then that's all in the span of your first 10 minutes in the vehicle, right? So you have to do all of that before you can drive.
Right.
And I'm like, what if I just want to hop in my truck and drive? You have to link the key fob to your profile too. So you have to create a driver profile, a key fob to it. So then what people understand is, when you get a Toyota now, like I had the Capstone Tundra. I hopped in a Capstone Tundra. Guess what came up? Logged in as Toyota West PR team.
Yeah.
Because they already set it all up. So Motor Trend never saw the initial startup process, because they didn't buy it. They just reviewed it. Well, if you don't see the initial startup process, sure. I still think Motor Trend was wrong, because the whole system, I hate it. And I've talked about it. So there's your negative review. I like certain pieces of it, but I don't like the Apple CarPlay integration. I don't like you can't make the map different sizes. I want a home button. I don't understand why I can't have a home button. I don't understand why the home screen doesn't have more icons. Like, why I don't love. And I had people from Toyota's team commenting on the channel because they were looking at their reviews. Because the thing that I did was, I was fair in my criticism, and like we said earlier with the entertainment guy, but I was fair in my criticism to the point where it was useful criticism. I wasn't going, this thing's a pile of crap and nobody should buy it, because that's not useful. I provided useful information that consumers could use, and then that made sense.
Well, constructive criticisms, I tell my audience all the time, if you just say, hey, this is a pile of shit, they can't run that up the ladder and go, hey, we need to fix this. But if somebody, even a normal person, trust me, they screen capture all your text and they want to send this up the ladder, go, see, Frank, I told you we needed to fix this. Here's what the audience thinks. If you do that, in a constructive way, trust me, they're in all these forums, they're in all these Facebook groups, they watch this stuff like a hawk. Tim, I know you gotta go golfing, buddy.
I got to teach them a little bit. But one more point on this before you wrap it. I know you're going to wrap it up.
Tim's got to get this out,
because I'm fired up about this. I got an email 7 or 8 years ago from a Ram PR team, and he asked a question article. I wrote a sentence that didn't make sense. I just screwed up, and so he said, I said, let me change that sentence. I'm sorry, I meant to say this. And he goes, okay, that's cool. And he was like, I'm like, how'd you find out about this? He goes, I had a note on my desk when I got to work the other day. And I was, really? And I said, you guys read that stuff? He goes, at the time, Sergio Marchoni was the head of Fiat Chrysler. And he goes, what do you think Sergio's doing when he flies back home to Italy? He's reading articles we send him, or he's watching videos. All he's doing is watching your content and everybody else is content when he's flying back to Italy because he's trying to understand his industry. And so that was like, holy cow, right? So that got my attention. So, I'm telling you right now, and I tell people on the channel, they're like, well, they tell me all the time, like, you need to talk about this on camera excuse me, you need to send Chevy an email on this and tell them how wrong they are on that. I'm like, no, I don't. I just talk about it on camera. Because Chevy's watching everything I do. They're GM. I mean, every brand's watching everything.
That's not professional. It wouldn't be professional of you to be like, "Hey," in a formal email. Here's what's wrong.
Yeah, but it's like I tell people, like, I did a video on that, and I made Chevy aware of that.
Yeah,
because I did the video, not because I emailed them or talked to him or pulled them aside. People are like, well, one guy was like, well, next time you talk to Ford, tell them I want a Bronco with a 5-liter V8, and I'm like, I'm not going to go talk to Ford. Like, I'm going to drive to Dearborn today and go talk to Ford. Like, if I bring it up in a video, they're going to watch it anyways. So it's like, I don't need to call them. They're already going to see it.
Yeah. And I will say there are Broncos driving around Dearborn right now with 5-liter engines in them. But they're never going to hit market.
It sounds good, but people like the sound of it. They don't want turbos. They don't want this, whatever. And I'm like, but do you guys remember the 5-point slow? Like that Bronco with a 5-liter V8 would be a 5-point slow because they need the turbos to make it fast. They need that performance. You may like the sound of it, but it's gonna be slow as hell, right?
I'm plenty like the 2.7 of mine. I have zero issues. Everybody's putting tuners on them and stuff, and I might down the road. Every time I gun it down the street, I'm just smile. It's more than happy.
Yeah, look at the Jeep Wrangler 6.4-liter V8 in the Wrangler, right? It's the 392 version. It's premium fuel only. It's supercharged. Yeah. You can't keep the tires on the ground. It spins the wheels off the line. It's a terrible vehicle. But people like the sound of it. And I'm like, well, I understand that, but I would never buy one because it's almost undrivable.
Kelly, don't listen.
Yeah, and I think so. If you take the 5-liter and you supercharge it and pick premium fuel only, it sounds great, but then your price point is $10,000 more. And your take rate's really low, and you have more carbon emissions, more CO2 per mile, which means you can't build that many because you screw up your CAFE numbers.
Well, so, then you as consumers paying for it. If you look at the window sticker, there's $1,000 to $2,000 tax you're paying on that, and you don't realize it.
Right, and then the consumer gets it, and they don't put premium fuel in it, and they go, "Oh, it's fine."
Yeah,
and it's like, well, that's not the point of it.
No, I would kill to have a TRX, but at this point, I'm just kind of like, nah.
The TRX is a lot of fun. People like to watch videos on it, but
I don't know. I cannot get. That's the one thing I can do a video on. Nobody will watch a damn thing about that.
You have to be first with that kind of stuff. If you're not first, but like the Ram 1500, I can do videos. People watch that easily all day long.
Yeah.
But the Ram TRX, unless I was first, I'll never get a video because it's a flash in the pan. It's an aspirational vehicle that people watch a video on because the guy jumps it or burns it or whatever that street speed did with his thing. But no real truck.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get in trouble here, but no real truck guy that I know would ever consider buying one. They look at it, and that looks pretty cool. I won't buy it.
All I know is I'm number one with Brighton Ford for a Ranger Raptor. Just remember that, people. So Brighton Ford in Michigan. Tim, I appreciate you being on here once again, man. It's always fun. Our Saturday conversations are always fun. And guys, if you ever wondered, this is just how me and Tim would talk to each other anyways. So
This is people said to my channel, like, I can't wait. When I'm in your area, I'm gonna stop and buy you a beer. And I'm like, we're gonna talk about trucks. I'm like, all right, you ready for the next 3 hours? Like, this is how I am. Like this, I literally started the podcast because I was talking to a guy about trucks, and I spent like 45 minutes talking about trucks with him, and then the person I was with was like, "You'd be a fool not to do a podcast." Like, hello, like you just sit here talking about it. I'm like, this is how I am. This is, when I talk shop, I talk. And on the golf course, it's funny. I don't really talk much on the golf. I don't really talk much on the golf course. I don't really talk much. I'm not really a fast talker anywhere else. It's just when you hit this passion level I have with trucks, I could spend hours and hours.
Hey, the real question is, what ball do you use on the golf course?
I use my Callaway.
Callaway ball?
All right. Well, all right. So the reason, hold on. I got one for you. So triple track Chrome Soft. The reason I bought these and the reason I buy them is two things. A, I can't see the ball anyway, so I had to go yellow. But B, put my logo on it. It's a business friend.
So when you lose it, somebody can find it and go, "Oh, what's this?"
Yeah, I've had people on the course come up to me and give me my ball back because they found it and they find my logo on there. The only thing, And
Tell
one of
my
my
wife
friends,
that.
well, one of
Get
my
my balls
friends
wet.
goes, he goes, "What?" He goes, "If you lose a ball and somebody finds it, they can see your that's good marketing." I'm like, "Yes, I go out to do marketing on the golf course." The only
They're Easter
problem with
eggs.
the only problem with marketing is you can't market to the fishes.
Right?
So when you hit it in the water, there's no marketing.
Yeah. Well, and what clubs you used, Tim?
I have Mizuno's right now, Callaway hybrids, and I bought a new 7-wood I actually like, and
Yeah.
drivers, and I have some Titleist wedges and a Scotty Conbrink putter.
Nice, nice. I can't gosh, I can't even think of what mine are anymore. That's how long it's been since I played golf, but I do have a nice Taylor driver that I really like. So
Oh, I'm playing golf. I played golf yesterday. I'm playing golf today. I'll play golf Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and probably the following weekend.
what did Sing used to play? The club Sing used to play. I can't think of the damn name of these clubs that I have. Anyways,
No, it's no people. What people understand with that is it's like, oh, you're goofing off every day. Yesterday I played, right, so I got up at 6. By 8 o'clock, I had 2 stories written, had a video done, and then by 10:30, I had written up 2 more stories and scheduled my video for later on that day.
yeah,
So I'm really creative in the morning, like really creative in the morning. So between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m., I can do my entire job in that time period because I spent the night before thinking about what I was going to do, where I get fired up in the morning, whatever. So like,
mm,
I don't need. If I sat at my desk from 8 to 4 every day, I would just be playing solitaire because I get so freaking bored. So, and then I come home at night and I check comments and I respond to emails, stuff like that. So it's like I'm not working. Like I work and I work 7 days a week, so I work really hard. I
yeah.
just don't work. I just don't work 7 days a week, 8 hours a day because you can't.
Oh,
There's
I used to
none.
have my own survey office, Tim, and my dad worked for me. And my dad, I mean, I'm not a golf nut. I like playing golf. I wouldn't say I'm a golf nut, but I knew, like, it was always weird being my dad's boss of sorts. But I knew, because the father son thing.
Yeah.
But I used to go, hey, dad, you want to go play golf? Let's go. Like, anything else, he'd be like, well, we got a lot of work here to do. You'd say golf, and it was like, dude, I remember one summer, I think I played probably 50 rounds of golf, something like that. Like, just bam, bam, bam.
Well, the other thing is that my friend and I, he's a really fast player, and so if we play during the week, we can play 18 in 2 hours.
Yeah.
So like, and I, my swing's kind of messed up at the moment, but usually I can play to. I'm usually 4 or 5 over par. Is kind of where I'm at. I'm 6,
Yeah.
7, 8 handicap. So we can play 36 in 4 hours. I mean, it's not. So it's not like I'm going out and playing a 6 hour round every day, right? Because
Yeah.
today will be because it's Saturday and it's slow out there, whatever.
Yeah.
But but it's like, yeah, this I play really fast. It's not like, and I usually play around lunchtime. So you can, if I get the course at 1 o'clock or no, we're playing at 10:30 next week. So if I get the course at 10:30 on a Tuesday, like we're done by 12:30. I'm back at my
Mhm.
office by 1. I mean, or not even 1, but
Well,
because
me and Kelly used to live on a golf course, and I used to love, like, it'd be rain days, and I'd get off work early, and there'd be nobody on the golf course, and the sun would come out. Dude, I could go play 9 easily in 40 minutes or so.
yeah, oh
Played
yeah,
the best golf of my life because there was nobody, no pressure behind you to play, and, but that's
right,
a whole nother show.
right.
But, Tim, I do appreciate you being on here. Any big things coming up people need to watch for this week?
Silverado heavy duty news, and I'm still working on this. I'm working on this massive CP4 fuel pump story. I got Jill involved in that because I'm having trouble working the details on that. And then I am going to finally tow with my Silverado Duramax. We
Nice.
finally have some weather this week. It's 75, 80, 75, 80 throughout this week. So I'm going to pick up a
Mhm.
camper Sunday on Easter. We're going up to my uh, wife's family, and they have a camper I use. So I'm going to borrow the camper, and I'm going to do a towing test on probably Monday or Tuesday. I got to get my drone footage. There's a lot involved. I'm going to do car to car, have drone footage. I got to get all that stuff shot and done. And I want to do a fuel economy test. I want to do DEF usage. I want to look at transmission temperatures. And then I have an aftermarket transmission radiator I need to install as well, oil pan. So and then DECT is going to send me the replacement bars for the slide-in I have that gets here Monday. So I have a lot of cool stuff coming next week. I finally, it's been, this winter has just been unbelievably terrible. It's the worst winter I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's been either bitter cold, it's been snow, it's been ice, it's been every possible thing. So finally the weather straightened out a little bit. I'm going to take the towing test with next week. And then the following week, I'm going to Montrose, take this car to my daughter. I'm taking my diesel for that too. So I'm be really interested. I'm doing a U-Haul kind of trailer thing. I have to go over Eisenhower Pass. I have to do the Ike Gauntlet.
Nice.
Which is just funny. I make jokes about that. I mean, I've done that so many times, but they do a great job. I should pick on them. TFL does an amazing job with the Ike Gauntlet. But I'm doing that basically the Ike Gauntlet trying to drive. I'm gonna go out to Montrose, and so I'm gonna drop the car off. So I'm really curious to see how that does with DEF, and I'm really curious to see what that does to the economy, especially because I'm leaving. This is Gearing's 3,000 feet, and Eisenhower is what 15,000, something like that. It's one of the highest passes in the world. And so I got to go from 3,000 feet over 15,000 feet down through the mountains out to Montrose. And so and this should be 60-degree weather, 65 for the high. So really good temperature range too. So I'm excited to get that car out of the way because it's been sitting out for a long period of time. But yeah, I'm really excited to get some more Duramax stuff out. So I've had Silverado 1500 I bought for the channel for this year. And I've been watching Big Truck Big RV, my friend, he's got a GMC he's been doing towing with in Texas. Like it's so much easier to do it in Texas because the weather's so much better. And so
me and Keller are thinking about moving that way. It's because the weather.
The weather is so much, so and I have a friend that have been doing testing and they can do it because they live in a better climate. So I'm finally excited to be able to do that kind of stuff. And I'm really geeked out about I want to see how it does. I really enjoyed the LMP. I did some videos in that towing the camper. I want to see what this new diesel refinement does. Does it do better? Does it run cooler? Does it run better fuel economy? How's that going to work together? And that's my passion right there. I want to know, and I can't wait to get done.
Well, we're unfortunately in our rainy season. Normally our rainy season is February, but some reason now it's April. And I have so much to do. And I have my Bronco event coming up, the Bronco Supercell. Got to get our Bronco ready for, and I have parts that I know Tuffy sent us some things that I've got to get on this stupid vehicle. And it's like, and I can go to my dad's shop, but then it's like, I pissed my poor dad off the other day. We were putting some rock rails on my Bronco, and I was trying to film it, and I said, hey, you need to go on. Because, dad's going to be like telling you everything you do wrong. And dad wasn't having that. So it's like, I'm not going back over to his shop for a while to put anything on. So there, guys, clearly Tim's the big fish here. About his channel, but go check it out anyways. Pickup truck plus SUV talk and have some fun this week. Have some fun in your vehicles. We'll have more truck news coming up. I got a feeling Ford's due for something. Ranger at some point we'll hear about. Toyota, I know Tim has a little bit of an inside track, but at some point we'll know more about that. And it's the year of the truck, man. I'm excited. So whether it be 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, or these badass trucks that I do like to drive, this has been your All Terrain Nation. I'm your host, David Boyd, and we're out. Peace.